Hello, everyone. I am Bree Hillier, and I am here tonight with Ian Smith, who is running for Lincoln County Sheriff this year. And he was super kind enough to come and do a little interview with us, and I am very appreciative. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for
Absolutely.
coming.
Glad to be here.
Yes. So I have some questions, and I really cannot wait to hear your answers
Love it.
because I love chatting with you.
Heck yeah.
We have great chats.
I love it.
Yes. Okay. So, first question. Can you please introduce yourself and your connection to Lincoln County as a whole?
So my name's Ian Smith, and I'm running for Lincoln County Sheriff. I joined the Army. Well, I'll preface this. When I was in high school, I was a volunteer firefighter and a volunteer EMT. And that was, I grew up on the East Coast. I'm from Philly, but I got here as fast as I could. So in that area, I did a lot of volunteer work, fire, EMS, stuff like that. But at 17, I joined the United States Army. So between my junior and senior year of high school, the reason I joined the Army is because I was very connected with people who were involved with September 11th. I mean, that basically happened in my backyard. I mean, New York compared to it was very, very close. I had friends, I had relatives, I had, people who were actively in the area when it happened. And as a 16 or, I was just a young kid at the time, I was like, well, how can I serve my community? So that kind of spurred me on to doing the volunteer thing. And then at 17, I joined the Army, went through basic training my junior and senior year of high school. And then when I got when I graduated high school, I went through infantry school, and then I ended up deployed to Iraq. I did more than 250 combat missions as a machine gunner on a Humvee. I was with the reconnaissance platoon. I was in 11 Bravo. Yeah, so I did a lot of that sort of thing. Fast forward, I got out, and then I went into the Idaho National Guard, and I taught like IED awareness and infantry tactics to these units in Idaho, which were just supply and logistics and stuff like that. I taught them how to make hasty ambushes, how to search vehicles, how to do basic infantry stuff, right? Because they were paperwork people, and so I ended up training. I don't know how many, but I trained people for about a year. Then they mobilized and they went to Iraq, and I didn't end up going on that deployment because of a back injury. Anyway, so I got out of the military. I got out of the Idaho National Guard and decided to go to school. So I went to college, and I wanted to be a nurse. Believe it or not, of all things, I wanted to be a nurse.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
I wanted to be a nurse. I was actually working at a home for people with developmental disabilities and brain trauma and war veterans who had traumatic brain injuries. And so that was really
That's
something
so
that,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really resonated with me. I really wanted to help out veterans, and the best way that I could see to do that was to become a nurse, get my degree, use my IGI Bill, and do all that. Well, I took medical terminology and I failed. I remember I walked in, took the test, and laughed. I was like,
lot of
"There's
big words
yeah."
in
I was
there,
like,
man.
I don't speak Latin," and I just,
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't do this. This is not. So I went to my counselor. I said, hey, look, she goes, well, actually, believe it or not, you've taken enough government classes, political classes, classes. She goes, you would be a perfect candidate to be pre-law, become a lawyer, or get a degree in political science. She's like, you're just a few credits short. They're all math classes, and they're all math classes. I was like, well, that's a problem. That is a real problem. So while I was trying to figure that out, I had a buddy who was, we were out shooting one day. He's like, hey man, I just got to be a reserve with the city of Sandpoint. I was like, I don't know. He's like, dude, do a ride along, and you'll fall in love with it. I was like, okay. So sure enough, I did a ride along, and it was like immediately I was hooked. I put in my application to become a reserve. I did all that. I went through the reserve training, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It was awesome. I met some really wonderful people. And one of the things that I found was that I was able to help veterans in crisis. That was a big thing, like helping veterans in crisis and stuff like that. Plus, it let me use some of the skills that I had learned in the military, as far as like looking at things and paying attention and attention to detail and things like that. And so it was a really big thing. Well, Corey, my wife, is from Montana. She's like, hey, I really want to move back to Montana. I said, sure. So I ended up getting hired on with the City of Libby Police Department, and I was with them. For 4 years. Over the course of 4 years, some things transpired that were really, really negative. The person in charge at the time was trying to was doing things that me as a person, as an individual, and as a police officer, I didn't agree with. We're going to charge people differently. We're going to do things, we're going to do things that are kind of gray, things that, oh, well, this person deserves a ticket for doing this, but this person knows somebody, and so they don't deserve a ticket, even though they're doing the same thing. And at one point we were dealing with city ordinances and the city was out of violation. So I wrote the mayor a ticket and I was told immediately that needs to disappear. And that was kind of when I was like, ooh, there were some things happening that I didn't agree with. And there are overall policing is a good thing. There are some bad apples.
Right.
I wasn't going to let that spoil, who I was as a person. I wasn't going to, bow down to that. I wasn't going to go with the flow just because I wanted to. So November 22nd, 2023, I quit the Libby Police Department. And there were 2 other officers who followed with me that same day. And that turned into just a huge can of worms. And I was the most vocal about trying to explain to everybody, hey, look, this is what happened. This is why it happened. This is the path that we chose, and all that. And it was a mess. It was an absolute mess for months. But in the meantime, I ended up getting hired on in the jail. So I worked in the jail, and then I ran for Libby City Council, and I won Libby City Council. I was there for 14 months while still working in the jail. One of my biggest accomplishments that I would say is that the whole water, when we had the whole water, there was this vote to decide whether or not we were going to up the price of the water on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
I listened to what everybody said. I took my own opinion out of the situation, and I listened to what everybody said. And the public sentiment was overwhelming. No, we do not want this. So.
Just a little overwhelming, though, right?
Oh, I mean, I was getting text messages, phone calls, people on the street going to meet everybody. Out of the hundreds of people I talked to, 2 said it was a good idea. It's like, wow.
Right.
So when the vote came up, I took my personal beliefs out of it and I voted with the will of the people. Now that's my big thing. If it's legal, moral, and ethical, I want to do the will of the people. That is what's wrong with politics today, is it seems like politicians are not listening to the will of the people. That's also why I decided to go libertarian as opposed to Democrat or Republican. And the reason for that is because I'm not making laws. I don't have nothing to do with making laws. I'm not legislating. I am enforcing.
Right.
My opinion, when I show up to the scene of a crime, my first question is what happened, not who did you vote for.
Right.
I don't care. If you ask for help, I don't care if you voted for Kamala. I don't care if you voted for Trump. I'm going to help you. If you broke the law, I don't care if you voted for Kamala. I don't care if you voted for Trump. You're going to be held accountable for what it is.
Right.
I'm not in a situation where I'm going to be executing laws and I'm going to be enforcing them. And you can tell me that I don't think this law is just. That's not my area. My area is to enforce said law. So that's why I decided to pick the third party as opposed to Democrat or Republican, because I don't neither encompass what I believe law enforcement should be.
Right.
And I don't even necessarily agree that libertarian is, what law enforcement should be, but it was the kind of the third party. It was like, hey, look, I don't want to, I'm not going to be a part of any of this because, again, law enforcement is to enforce, not to legislate.
Right. It was the closest thing to what you believe.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. That makes total sense. I totally.
I'm a very center. I think both parties have good ideas. I think both parties have bad ideas.
Absolutely.
And as far as at a county level, I don't think that anything should be partisan. I don't think that that's,
Right.
State level, sure. County level, no.
Yeah.
At county level and below, no.
Yeah. No, and I actually really appreciate you explaining that because
Right.
I had never really thought about that or understood that was really why those were there. I just assumed that there was like a reason, but it turns out there's really not.
Back in the day, I think I was told 20 or 30 years ago, everything shifted in Lincoln County and they voted in that things had to be changed and stuff like that. It used to be Lincoln County used to be nonpartisan. That's how everything was run. But like I said, 20 or 30 years ago, I don't remember exactly, so don't quote me. Everything shifted, and so they wanted it to be political party based. So that was kind of, so now I am dealing with that now.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very, yeah. I mean, I really like your line of thinking on that.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely appreciate that.
I appreciate the thought that goes into that, because I
Right.
completely agree. Like, we've had incidents here where you show up and you don't get to pick a side.
You no.
In your case,
Yes.
as an officer,
Yes.
you don't get to pick a side, because there's people you know and probably care about on both sides of the line.
Yes.
And the line doesn't matter then.
Right. You know, and I tell people, you know, the scope of law enforcement is very wide but very narrow. So it's very wide as far as what we get a chance to do and kind of, you know, things that we get involved in, but it's very narrow as far as when we can take action, as far as when we can make an arrest, as far as when, and if we're going to conduct an investigation, it has to stay in this line.
Right.
There, you can't go over here. You can't go over here. It's a very we are a fact finder. That is what we do. We are fact finders. We don't let our opinions get involved. It is, what are the elements of the crime met, or are they not met? Period. That's how it goes.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No, and that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that a lot. Let me see about this next question here. What do you think are the sheriff's top responsibilities in Lincoln County?
Protect the community, enforce the law, and keep community members safe. Make this a good place for people to live, work, and raise their families. Right. I want this community to be the best that it can be, whatever that looks like. You know, there's different ways to get about that, but you know, as far as law enforcement is concerned, I can say this. I can say that, you know, throughout my time in law enforcement, so I'm going to go back here real quick. I spent 10 years in law enforcement altogether. I spent 6 years in the military. In the military, I trained troops, and I was a fire team leader. And then as far as being in law enforcement, I'm a field training officer. I was in charge of the sexual and violent offenders within the city of Libby. I am the lead firearms instructor. I was the training coordinator and the reserve coordinator. Now I'm currently in Troy. I'm still currently the firearms instructor and the training coordinator. So those are just kind of some of the leadership roles that I've had, along with the whole city council thing. But as far as what the lead job of the sheriff is to enforce constitutional law, enforce what the MCA say. You know, what does the MCA say? Make sure that's what's being enforced. Ensuring that the deputies have the equipment and the tools and the training that they need in order to be able to carry out their job effectively. You know, that's the ultimate goal of law enforcement. It's not to make a million arrests. It's to modify behavior so that we all can live and work and play in this beautiful, beautiful place that we call Lincoln County. Like, I've been to a lot of places, and I can tell you, even Alaska, and Lincoln County is absolutely by far the most beautiful place I've ever.
It really is.
But I think that, you know, crime is going to happen no matter what. There's no way to completely reduce or get rid of crime. That's not possible. But we want to reduce it. You know, we want to make sure that, you know, deputies are out patrolling, deputies are out, you know, community policing. And community policing to me is that you're working those same streets over and over and over again. You're seeing the same people. When I work, I have people running up to my car. Hey, Ian, you know, I saw this, or I saw this, or I saw this. Perfect. It took me a year to get to that point. People, I was the new guy. People like, oh, what's this? Now I have people running up to my car and being like, hey, look, I know this.
Right.
Great. And I go, I handle whatever situation. That's because those people trust me enough and know that I'm gonna do the right outcome, the right thing for them. That's why they're willing to come up to me and tell me, hey, here's what's going on.
Right.
It takes trust. You know, we by the people, for the people, and we draw strength from the people. That was the quote from so this whole nebulous of law enforcement was started in England in the 17 and 1800s, and that was kind of, you know, the grandfather of modern law enforcement said that. That's, you know, we are members of this community. I want to see this community thrive,
Right.
like just like everybody else does.
Right.
I see about going about it as a different way. You being a business owner, you see it thriving as far as making money, and I want to see it to where, you know, you don't have to, not that you do now,
Right,
but
right.
not that you do now, but you don't have to worry about going out at night. You don't have to worry about these, that's these sorts of things. The sheriff in Lincoln County is the lead law enforcement, is the duly elected law enforcement official
Right.
in Lincoln County. They are in charge of everything.
Right.
Like, they're not in charge, but they have hands in everything. Search and rescue, the ambulance, the fire, all the county stuff that goes on, the hospital. I mean, they're just it's a very broad overview, but I think the most responsible thing, or the number one thing is being that duly elected law enforcement official that follows the law correctly and enforces the law correctly.
Right. I actually didn't realize the sheriff was involved in all that. That's a lot of stuff.
Everything.
That's a lot of stuff.
Everything. I mean, we could sit here for an hour and I could tell you everything that the sheriff is involved in. It is because, mental health, the
Right.
hospital. I mean, mental health is a huge part of law enforcement,
Right.
hospital, EMS, search and rescue. I mean, it's the jail. I mean, all of those things are
Yeah,
just,
the
there's
jail, yeah.
so many different pieces to it, but being that person that when they have a problem, they can come up and be like, hey, listen, I have this problem, and have a team to be like, hey, look, I'm just one person. I can't do this myself. But my team, let's all get together and see what we can do to make this solution. Lincoln County is a wonderful place. The only thing that I will say is I would never leave my car door or my house unlocked. But as far as walking around outside
Yeah.
at night,
Yeah.
absolutely, I have no concerns whatsoever.
Right. No, absolutely.
And
I
we're
totally agree.
We're blessed with that because I know in cities it is not like that at all.
No.
Like city policing versus rural policing are two completely different things.
Well, even when you were talking about people running up to your car window and stuff like that, I love I can't remember what it's called now because it's been so long. It was like Live PD.
Yeah, right.
I loved that show when it was on, and I watched it all the time. And
Yes.
that was always like something that those officers in like big cities said was like, this is what we do all the time because
Yes.
we want people to know who we are, know they can trust us, and when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I remember they said that a lot.
Work in the streets.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Being out, being available, and being willing to listen to what people have to say. I mean, that's listen and then act. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to gain the community members' trust. I mean, that's huge. That's everything. That's literally everything. All we have is the trust in the community.
Yeah.
Well,
because it's a big step. Like, there's been a few times in my life where I've had to call like 911 or even call dispatch to like make a complaint.
Right.
And it like those are always lines where I'm like, is this really that big of a deal? Or, is this going to seem stupid?
Right.
But when I've made those calls, it's a big deal to me.
Yes.
And I want it to be a big deal to whoever comes and talks to me about it.
100%. And that's, I'm an FTO. I train new, and I always try to explain that. Like, listen, you're dealing with people on their worst day imaginable, right?
Absolutely.
Like, rarely do you come up. I mean, it happens to me now when people come, hey, it's my birthday.
Right.
It's like, oh, what? So,
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, when somebody's coming up to you, it's because it's something's going on, and you have to make sure you keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah. It may not seem like a big deal. It may not seem like a big deal to a third party, but to the person who it's going through, absolutely, it's the worst day of their life.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that because it's hard, it's scary, it's
Yes.
emotional.
Yes.
And we need that person to be the one that's like, all right, this is the
Yes.
plan.
And then you have somebody in body armor and a gun walk in, and
That's
it's like,
right. Dang it.
it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. You know what I mean? And so that's why we gotta make sure that we're working. Me personally, I always keep this in mind. I gotta be friendly. I gotta be like, hey, look, how can I help?
Yeah.
Even though I'm having a bad day, that doesn't translate into you. Because again, I'm the one with the gun and the badge and the body armor. I have to make sure that I'm putting whoever it is at ease, whoever called at ease, because it's a pretty jarring thing to have somebody walk in with a badge, a gun, and a body.
Absolutely, yeah. Or like, even if it's just, the little old lady that lives by herself and thinks somebody has been, like coming in her yard or sneaking into her house or, and it's just because she's scared or lonely or,
Right.
and it's
Right.
probably like, man, this is the 10th time we've been here this month, I mean,
Right.
those things that's still very important to her.
Not only that, it's funny. It's funny. I had an FTO when I first started who said, you treat every call as though it was serious. And I'll go on a little story here. There was a place called Serverburger in Sandpoint. The alarm tripped 10 days in a row at 2 a.m.
Oh, God.
Nothing there, nobody there, nothing like that. The 11th day, this is an actual case that happened. The 11th day, he shows up. He looks up, and there's people with ski masks like burglarized. They had tripped the alarm 10 times
To test.
to yes. And he was like, Ian, I'm telling you, as your FTO, every call is serious. Until you get to that point where you can make a determination
Right.
that it's not, every call is for real. Because there are plenty of times where I get, this dumb call, and I get there, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Right.
It's like, what happened,
Right. A much bigger deal than it
Yes,
sounded like
yes,
on the phone.
yes,
Yeah.
100%, yes.
Yeah. No, that's interesting with the tripping. They were
Yes,
just testing.
just testing. They would get the police to show up. Yep, see what they would do, and then the 11th time,
Little sons of guns.
yeah, and he was like, oh my God, and he was one of the best officers I've ever met. So, Sergeant Brian Cook, if you're watching this, I love you and I miss you.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild. But I mean, good for him.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah.
Yeah. So actually, with all of those things that we just talked about, that kind of leads me into my next question would be, how would you address like staffing and training and like retention for, like our rural coverage,
So the big thing that I'm running on is I want to see more police presence in these smaller areas. Eureka, Yak, Bull Lake, Happy's, Rexford, all of these places, right? All these small little community, halfway house, half state line. I want to see more police presence in those areas. Okay.
Right.
Now that's the big thing that I'm running on. I work in Troy, and when I call for backup, it's between 11 and 20 minutes for me to get somebody.
Really?
Because there's no patrols in that area. All of the a lot of the deputies, and they spend their time in Libby. Libby has the most amount of people. It's understandable.
Right.
From a I guess budget standpoint or a call practical, it makes sense. It makes sense that they would be here because this is where we get the most amount of calls.
Right.
I want to see more patrolling in these rural places, right? Now, as far as addressing staffing, in my perfect world, when the deputies came into work, they would be really happy to come to work.
Right.
Like me, when I go to Troy,
Right.
I love my boss.
Right.
I do. I want to be at work. I want to be there because ideally that's what I would want. And how I plan to do that is having my first order of business is going to be linking up with each deputy and each department head. So when I say department head, I mean the Libby chief, the Libby police chief, the Troy police chief, the Eureka police chief, and sitting them all down and saying, what can I do for you? How can I help? How can we all as a team work together? We all have the same vision of what Lincoln County should be. How are we going to get together, and how are we going to make this happen? And as far as the deputies, I want to send them to training. My time in the military taught me that there's two types of people. There's the person who talks about being the tip of the spear, and then there's the person who's the tip of the spear.
Right.
In my off time, I'm running, I'm shooting.
Right.
I'm practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I am doing these things.
Right.
Training builds competence, and competence builds confidence.
Right.
You want guys who are confident, who know. I know that if I don't work out for a couple of days, I start to feel like, oh man, I'm feeling kind of, I hope, but after I get a really hard, solid workout in, or I get out on the range and it's like, yeah, I can do this.
Right.
I'm going to go up to each one of them and be like, okay, what can I do to make your life better? What are we missing? What do you see? As far as, I was asked a question in my last interview was, how do you plan to kind of keep the ball rolling? How do you know, you're going to be if you get elected, you're going to be way behind,
Oh,
the current
yeah.
sheriff.
Right.
I said yes, and I agree with that 100%. Don't get me wrong, it's going to take me some time.
Right.
But what I can say is that I want to bring other people on board. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear what deputies have to say. I want to hear what the hospital has to say. I want to hear what Troy PD, Libby PD. I want to get all this. That's my big thing, is I want to get all this information and make a decision based on that. Like if 3 deputies or 4 deputies come up to me and say, hey, we don't do enough Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, guess what? We're going to start doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training. We're going to start doing defensive.
Right.
That's kind of how I'm going to run things. It's going to be a lot of input from a lot of different sources trying to do that. That's very much, I'm very much like, even on calls, I'll ask people, well, what is the outcome that you would like to have? What is it that you would like to see done? And if they say, well, I want to see this, and it's legal, moral, and ethical, those are my 3 big things. They have to be legal, they have to be moral, and they have to be ethical. Yes,
Right.
we can make that happen. I don't see an issue with that. But that's what it is. And I think that, the retention, if I give the deputies opportunities, we may not pay as much as some of the other places,
Right.
but if we give them opportunities and we, what I mean, like we try to get them the good gear, the good equipment, the good stuff like that, they'll want to stay.
Right.
I plan on meeting with everybody in the jail. What can we do to be better? What would make you want to come into work every day and be happy and productive? You know what I mean? I'm a lead from the front type of person. I mean,
Right.
that's just the way that it is. I'm not going to be
Right.
expecting people to do stuff that I won't do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, that, as far as, and I've been asked about the budget, right? So we talk about how the deputies are always in Libby, and I'm a law enforcement official. I'm the highest elected law enforcement official in the land. Guess what that means? That means I get to get in my car and drive around and patrol around and make traffic stops.
Right.
Because I'm not going to ask those guys to do it if
Right.
I'm not out doing it.
Right. Absolutely.
The other thing that I think that kind of makes me a little bit different than the other guys is that I am married and I have a dog. That's it. I don't have kids. So holidays.
Yeah.
How about giving the guys who have families who are scheduled to work that day the day off and have me take calls?
Right.
I'm not opposed to that. Let's go. I'm a cop.
Right.
I'm a cop. That's what I do. I take calls. I make traffic stops. I'm a cop first.
Right.
And so that's always been my thing, is that, give the guys the holidays off. They only get what, 18 holidays with their kids before they're full.
Don't remind me, dang it.
Give them the time off.
Yeah.
I'll handle it.
Right.
Put my wife in the cop car. Hey, we're doing a ride along
I know,
today.
in my head,
and off we go.
As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, I can see it driving in the snow.
Yes,
Yeah. Corey's gonna love
She's-
Christmas from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. And the dog will have to stay at home because,
Yeah.
but like that's just the best leadership I ever had in the military was the guys who were there, who sacrificed. I am just a little piece in this whole big organization, and it's not about me. It's about the people that I serve. It's about the people who. It's about the people that I serve. My constituents, people who voted for me, didn't vote for me. That doesn't matter. It's
Right.
the people.
Right.
It's the deputies. It's these other organizations. That's what it is. This isn't about me. This is about them.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I just wanted to say that you had mentioned like jujitsu and stuff like that in there. When you guys had done some stuff with like the wrestling kids.
Yes.
My youngest son was in there. Yeah. And
Okay.
he was literally so freaking stoked to tell me that he got to do that with the police officers.
I have a funny story about that. They're like, all right, now we're gonna do bear crawls, and I'm sure you're just tearing them out, and meanwhile, me and my buddy's like,
Yeah.
To be that young again. I mean,
I know.
he's like, all right, now we're gonna do this, and the kids would just like be loving it, and we'd be on the like dying,
Yeah. No, he really, really enjoyed that, and I really appreciated that.
Yes.
I mean, that was such a cool experience.
Yes.
Like you guys were just there, like to do what you needed to do, but to them it was like.
That's what I'm saying as far as being a member of the community. That's huge. That's letting people in on the trainings that we're going to be doing. You know what I mean? Like nothing we do. I mean, granted, there are parts of investigations that are secret until it's not.
Right.
But police work is not. It's not like super secret. None of it's super secret.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like let's
Right.
let's do trainings together.
Right.
Let's see what we can do about doing a range day and having
Yeah.
people. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the things that I'm about.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure which officers were there that day,
I
but
believe that was me because I remember those kids. Came home to Corey. I was like, man, those kids kicked our ass.
yeah, he was so excited. Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun.
They loved it. Yeah, they talked about it forever.
Heck
after
yeah,
that.
we'll have to do it again.
So we've kind of actually answered like several of my questions in what we've talked about. So I appreciate the information. Yeah. I really appreciate all of it. What do you think would be a way for you to prioritize like time responses with these calls? I know we kind of talked about that too.
Yes.
But is there like I know there's like a city police in Eureka and stuff like that. So do the deputies like fill in like the gaps for those city police? Is that how that works?
No, that's not how it works. So I'm very much a sovereign sort of. The city is sovereign. We have jurisdiction to work here, but the city police departments get to do things as long, again, legal, moral, and ethical, right? As long as they do those things that way, I don't believe in taking over, for example. I don't believe in walking up to, Troy or Libby or Eureka PBD, but hey, sheriff's office owns this now. Not at all. Okay. I want to encourage them. I want to be like, hey, look, now, could they fill in for staffing? Yes, but that's not normally what happens. So normally what happens is you have the city right here, and then you have all this area around it that is all county. So what, in a perfect world, what I would see is I would see a county deputy patrolling around these areas outside of the city. Now let's say that there's a call out in the county. Call up the city, hey, can you come out here and back me up on this? Sure, out they go. The same thing with the city calling for help. If you're out patrolling in this area, you get a call in the city and the city officer needs help. Hey, can you? Absolutely. And they come back in and that would be kind of where I would see the response times being, and ideally that's what I'm trying to say is that I feel like these little communities that aren't Libby, Troy, and Eureka are not seeing a return on their investment. You pay taxes, but you're not seeing it.
Right.
And I know response times are long, but we're also a super big county, so you have to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When we first started this, me and my friend, we got in our car, started up at the Yak, went all the way to, went to Troy, went to Libby, went up to Eureka and Rexford, and then and it was a full day, and we still didn't make Happies. I mean, it is a big county,
Wow.
But ideally, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see, more cooperation, with the having patrols in the outlying outskirts areas of the county, and then where these cities are at. If we can help back each other up, and that's how it that's how it's supposed to work.
Right. No, and that makes sense because I wasn't really sure like how I know they're I know that they are very separate things,
right?
But
that's when I say I want everybody to work together. We all share the same vision.
Yeah, and the same people.
Yes, the same exactly. And that's why I said
the same people.
The same people that I dealt with in the Libby, I'm currently dealing with in Troy. Yeah. It's the same, So that's what I'm saying is that yes, we could cut down on response times, and we're all on the same team. We wear different color uniforms, but we're all on the same team. It's literally like the Marine Corps, the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. We all have this same goal. Right. We just have to learn to work together. You know what I mean? We all have to be able to support and encourage each other.
Right. Yeah. No. That makes total sense. Yeah, because I cannot. How long did it take to do that trip?
So we started.
Because that's a long day.
We started. I'm a night shift person, so we probably didn't get started till noon. But it was like 8 p.m. by the time it was 8 hours. We stopped in, talked to people, got some food. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's a big county. Yeah. It's really big. And we didn't even go to, so we started in Libby. We went to Troy. We went to the Yak. We went to Bull Lake, came back through Libby, went to Rexford, then went to Eureka, and then by the time we started coming home, it was like 8 p.m. It's like, wow, what, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because even just to Happy's,
Yes,
that's a long drive.
it
So I
is.
can't even imagine,
Yes,
having to have have an emergency, and
yes.
I feel like, yeah, that's a lot.
But
That's
that's
a long day.
ideally that in my perfect world, that's how it would work. Is that everybody helps everybody else out.
Right. No,
You know.
absolutely. That would be perfect. Um, on that, speaking of that, what would be your plan for helping with reduction in like property crime and like drug related
Oh, I love this. I love this
crimes? Like
question.
what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
No, I'm aggressive, active patrolling.
Oh,
Okay, that
good.
is huge. That's part one. So, I have a theory, and the theory is that people say that as soon as you see a cop car, crime it goes down. Okay, you see a cop car, people you see that cops are actively patrolling, you're less likely to commit a crime because you know that.
Right.
But I take it a step further. I make traffic stops all the time in Troy because I want people to know that I'm actively
Right.
patrolling. If you see red and blues, you're like, oh, do I have my seatbelt on? Am I slowed down? Am I, you know,
Right.
and then it's the same thing. It's the same thing for the creepy crawlies at night. If they know that I'm out and about, I'm looking in those alleyways, I'm paying attention to everything. I'm waiting for you to do something stupid.
Right.
They're going to be less inclined to do something stupid.
Right.
And I can say that it has very much had an effect in Troy. I have heard people say, hey, there's less people out after hours. There's less people out. And I mean, obviously you're free to do what you want, but the people that are out after hours that we're talking about are the people who, are always are on our
Right.
radar, right?
Right.
Like these are the people,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, no,
Now the
absolutely.
second part to that is that I want to work with the schools. I want to work with the schools, and I want to have a plan working with the administrators as far as getting drugs out of schools, as far as working with that. How can we do that? Well, how can we, again, we want to bolster the city departments, because there's only a few schools that are actually out in the county. But as far as like what I can do, I want to be able to help out with, help help out the city units who are actively in the schools doing stuff. How can we help them? What can we do to bolster them? I know this seems like I'm kind of putting a lot, like not, but that's the only way that this is going to work, is if I can say, hey, look, whoever the SRO is for this, what can the sheriff's office do to help you?
Right.
I mean, that's, and I think that the active and aggressive patrol, being out in these small areas, and that's kind of being out in these small little areas doing patrols and paying attention and making traffic stops and all that is going to pay dividends in the city. And I say that because when they see that there's no place to hide, that
Right.
they're gonna understand that we are serious about preventing crime, actively stopping crime in Lincoln County,
Right.
because there's not going to be a place for them to disappear to.
Right.
There's a lot of but when you see a cop car in places you've never seen a cop car before,
Right. You're
like,
like, oh,
oh my
yeah.
god, like they're serious.
Yeah.
Like
What are you
that's,
doing here?
yes,
Yeah.
that's I get asked that, why are you in this alley? Well, because it's part of the city. It's part of my job. This is why I'm here. I'm looking around. I'm looking for
Right.
crime. I'm looking for
Yeah.
So yeah, active. I'm me personally. I'm a very proactive sort of person. I'm out talking with people. I'm out making traffic stops. I'd like to see that. I would like to see. I'd like to encourage guys to do that. And not force them to do that. That's a whole nother. But I want to encourage them. Hey, look, get out there. Let's go out and let's find dope. Let's go out and let's find those drunk drivers.
Right.
Let's go out and find those warrants. Like
Right.
I'll be right there with you.
Right.
Like that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah. No, I actually I really appreciate that specific last answer with the, finding the spots, because
Yes.
that is something that I see and hear a lot from people on Facebook. And, people are just like, well, okay, well, oh, great, they put up a speed limit sign over here, but what about the house that's been not a great
Right.
house that's been here for
Right.
75
Right.
years,
Now, I want to preface this, because there's something super important that needs to be said about that.
Right.
Law enforcement, this is our line, okay? We can't go over here and we can't go over here. This is our line. This is what we can do as far as law enforcement.
Right.
I want to make sure that we are staying within that line. So, yes, a house may be selling drugs. I understand that. But again, the bar is very high for what we can and can't do. Because in Montana, we have an actual and enhanced right to privacy, which means that you can't do stuff in Montana you can do in 49 other states. Our
Really?
rules are different. Yes, they are different. So, by that, what I'm trying to say is that yes, things can be done, but they're going to take time. And
Right.
you may not realize that things are going on, but I can tell you that if we know about it, I'm going to I'm going to do everything I can to make sure
Right.
that something is done. But it's not going to be something that happens overnight. It
Right.
takes time. It takes building cases, building files, getting
Right.
all this intel, and then doing it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I imagine that with, increased patrols and stuff like that,
Yes.
that helps be like, oh, hey, that guy's been there 6 times today. What's up with that?
Yes.
Let's find out.
Yes. Exactly.
I
No,
mean,
exactly.
I don't know if that's how it works. I'm just saying.
No, that's
Yeah.
pretty close to how it
Yeah.
happens. But again, we have our own rules, and
Right.
we
Right.
got to abide by.
Right.
But yes,
Absolutely.
that's the big caveat is that yes, I hear you. I'm 100% behind that. But we're gonna make sure that we're following the rules that we have been given, and we're gonna do things procedurally.
Right.
You know.
Which I appreciate because as somebody who watches a lot of like true crime and stuff on TV, I
Right.
know it's not the same.
Right.
Well, not quite exactly the same, but I've seen some serious cases where like one stupid thing
small thing.
that one person did just totally was like, oh, cool, like let's throw out that guilty verdict from
Yes.
5 years ago and you get a whole new trial.
Yes.
And now all these people have to go through this whole,
Yes.
So I appreciate the line.
Right.
I appreciate
No,
the line.
absolutely. And that's the hardest thing sometimes is telling people, hey, listen, I feel you. I understand. I'm doing what I can. And the other thing that people have to realize is that it may not look exactly like you think it's going to look.
Right.
It may not look like,
Yeah.
booting a door in, but it may look like anybody who comes out of said house and breaks the law gets a ticket.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's all, we have
Right.
different ways of going about things that aren't just booting a door in,
Right.
and
There's steps.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
totally.
100%.
I get it. Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that a lot because, like I said, I've seen just some total devastation over little
Yep.
tiny things
Yep.
that it's like, bro, who did that?
That's
Who did that?
That's this is the thing about law enforcement is you have to be on point.
Yeah.
You have to be on point because one little slip up and
Yeah.
it all blows up in your face. you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and speaking of all of this stuff that we're speaking about, how do you think you would be able to work with like the county attorney and like probation and like parole officers and stuff like that? Like, is that a part of
Oh yes.
the sheriff's duties?
So work absolutely. That is a huge part of the sheriff's duties. And like I said, in an ideal world, we'd all work together. I've worked with the county attorneys. I have a reputation with the county attorneys. I have a reputation with probation and parole. I have a reputation with the courts. All these things, I've worked with them before. I'm not just some lay person who's coming in off the street who doesn't understand any of it.
Right.
I've worked with these people. These people know who I am. They know what I'm about, and I want to, whatever that looks like. Again, I keep talking about,
Right.
consistent communication. That's what it is. They have their rules that they have to play by. I have my rules, but we can all get together and make sure that we're helping each other out where and when we can legally.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a big part of it. Like I said, a lot of what I'm going to be doing as sheriff is meeting with these different people and extending the how can I help? How can we all work together to make this a better, a better community than it already is?
Right.
Not that it's not great, but there's
No,
always
yeah.
room for improvement.
Absolutely.
Always.
Yeah. Well,
know?
and I feel like being able to work with those specific individuals will have a huge part in
Right.
keeping that
Yes.
keeping
Right.
the line,
Right.
I
Right.
think those are pretty important people to have,
Yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
on your side. So
Right.
I think that would be a good team effort.
Yes.
You know.
And I'm all about teamwork. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's not overbearingly obvious at this point,
Right,
I'm
right.
very pro teamwork. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, we're gonna have a teamwork counter in
Yes.
the bottom of your.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
I love it.
I'm just joking. Let's see. What do you think as far as everything that's going on, like that you've seen as of with working in the jail and stuff like that, do you see any sort of like specific situations there that you would like to improve, like that you were like, if I am gonna do this and I get elected, these are some things that I wanna, because
Yes.
jail is another
Yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah. Yep. That don't. I spent 2 years in the jail, and I can tell you how those people are doing 20 years is beyond me. They are a whole different breed, like they really are. And I want to encourage. I would love nothing more than to get a new jail.
Right.
I would that again, after I can say, I can, without going into too much, I can tell you that there are
Right.
issues in that jail that
Yeah.
that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Finding the money is going to be
Right.
the big thing, and the way that I would foresee it working is getting together with anybody and everybody who has a grant available, or anybody and everybody who wants to see and trying to do that. That's one of my big things. I don't want to raise taxes, but at the same time,
Right.
people need to understand that we need a new jail. That place is falling apart.
Right. Well, and obviously, I know that everybody jail is a punishment.
Yes.
That is a punishment.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes.
But
I can say from
it shouldn't be torture.
yeah, it shouldn't, and not only that, it shouldn't be torture, but it's also hard for the guys who are working.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're that jail was outdated in the 90s. It's
was it?
2026.
Was it?
And we're still things overflowing and doors not working correctly and crumbling infrastructure. I mean, it's amazing how they've been able to band-aid it together for as long as they have.
Wow.
It's like, yeah. I get, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Jail is supposed to be
Right.
but it's not.
Right.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about safety, like
Right.
serious safety concerns.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, like
For
that's
everyone
yes,
involved.
literally everyone
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if doors aren't working, like I feel like that's
Yes.
a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is the doors that I'm thinking about, it's not the secure, but it's these doors that are automatic, and they haven't made parts for them in 30 years.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. What are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah,
Like that's,
Right.
Yeah,
No, I
But people need to realize, though, that when we talk about a new jail, we're talking millions of dollars. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
is
we're
it?
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
we're talking millions of dollars. So that's where I'm saying it's like,
yeah.
if I guess my crowning achievement would be getting a new jail, if that would be something that we could do. I would
Right.
explore every avenue that I possibly could, without trying to burden the taxpayers
Right.
with that, because
Right.
that's
Which I'm sure we would appreciate.
right. Like I said,
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
grants. I'm
Yeah,
talking,
no, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm talking, like, what do they say? The Nigerian prince. If the Nigerian
Right.
prince,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
if anybody knows one,
Yeah,
if we could get him on the phone, that'd
Yeah.
be great, because we need a new jail.
we do. That's yeah.
Yeah, but actually, I was talking to a friend. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but there had been something on Facebook or like in the paper recently about an incident that had happened, and like the juveniles like had to go to like Idaho or something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So I was just like, hey, so do like just a bunch of Idaho a-hole children come over here? Like, I'm confused. Why?
No.
So
No.
yeah,
So,
I
would you
didn't.
like me to explain?
Yeah, I didn't understand.
Okay. So, 20 years ago, for Troy was the juvenile detention facility. Was actually the juvenile detention facility for Lincoln County. That was where when juveniles did something wrong, they were brought to that facility. That's where they were housed. I actually, when I work, I actually sleep in the old jail, because my schedule is that I actually
Right.
sleep. So when I go to sleep, I'm looking at jail bars. Kind of funny. I find it
Funny.
hilarious.
That is funny.
But the way that works is because we didn't have enough juveniles. We didn't have enough juveniles to keep. It was so far in the red that they couldn't justify doing it anymore, because there just wasn't enough juveniles coming in. It didn't fit kind of the metrics for. So what we did was we contracted with Sandpoint. So instead of them they're transported to Sandpoint.
Gotcha.
And I can say that it does, in all reality, it makes more sense because we don't have the amount of juvenile crime in order to facilitate an entire juvenile
Right.
facility.
Yeah. With
It
like
is,
staff and
yes, yeah,
yeah,
it would
that's a
be,
lot probably.
it's cheaper, although it may not sound it, for the juveniles to go be transported
Yeah.
to sample.
No, I think that makes yeah, that makes total sense. But I felt like so dumb because I was like, I'm confused. Like, why
Yeah,
are all
no,
these Idaho
yeah,
kids coming here and committing
no,
crimes?
no, 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 no. That's so yeah. The Sandpoint is where they're transported and then they're housed. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense.
And another thing people need to realize is that juveniles have different rights than adults do.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you hear of a crime of a juvenile and the juvenile's name isn't named, that's because juveniles are protected.
I did know that.
Yes,
I did know
they
that
are. They
part
have their
actually.
own. They have their own set of rules that are completely different than adults. So
Right.
when we talk to them, we have to have parents present. You know, it's
Gotcha.
juveniles are a mess. But that's
Gotcha.
I mean that's what we do.
Right. But we do have like a youth probation
Yes,
here, right?
yes. Youth
Okay.
probation is here. It's directly across from the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
But yes, we do have probation here. We just don't have a housing facility for juveniles who need to be housed.
Gotcha.
And so
okay.
our facility or youth court works with the juvenile center in Sandpoint,
Gotcha.
which
Okay.
is actually funny because I first got my start at the juvenile facility in Sandpoint.
Oh, so it's like
Yeah, come full circle.
yeah,
It's come
we're
full circle.
coming
Yeah,
back,
coming full
coming
circle.
back.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I was just like I'm confused.
Yep.
Like,
Nope.
but I guess it makes way more sense now to not have juveniles down here
Yes.
with, you know.
Oh, no. In state of Montana, that's another thing. You cannot have juveniles in the same sight, sound, or anything as adults. So
Oh.
if you're going to do a tour of the jail, even kids cannot have a tour. They cannot be anywhere near the jail.
Really?
Yes. Juveniles are not allowed anywhere near that jail.
I mean, I guess that makes sense
Yes.
now that I'm thinking about
Yes.
it. That does make sense.
Yeah, it's
but
like sight, sound, and something else that's escaping me. But basically, they cannot be anywhere close to an adult jail.
interesting.
Yes.
Well, yeah, now it really makes sense.
Yes.
They're in a whole other state.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Nice
you
and-
can't
nice
get
and
far,
safe.
Yeah, you can't get far enough away with that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Well, I am learning a lot, so
Awesome.
thank you. I appreciate
So this
it.
is all about.
Yes, I love it. I guess like realistically, we have like cycled through so many of what the questions that I've wanted to ask.
Okay.
Just chatting.
Yes.
So I'm
What did I tell you? I told
Yeah.
you this was going to be a chat.
no, yeah, I
Like,
really
yeah.
appreciate
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
because it's like well, geez, awesome.
Yeah.
Like we're just having a chat up here. I guess realistically, I only have like 2 more
Sweet.
questions.
Let's hear 'em.
And I am wondering, like, as far as like coordinating with the EMS and like the emergency, I know again that we've talked about like working
Right.
together and stuff
Right.
like that. Are those things that you feel like you could do as a
Oh, yeah.
leader? Like
Yeah.
you would have no problem going in and saying like, hey, these are things that I want. What can
For those of you that know me, you know I don't sugarcoat things. Like people who know me know that I am
yes.
I am very direct. I'm going to tell you, hey, look, this is what I can do for you. This is what I think you can do for me.
Right.
Let's talk about it. What can we do? How can we? I have no problems walking into anywhere and striking up a conversation with somebody. Like that's, I was gifted. You know what I mean? I've been gifted with that over time in law enforcement. Of I'll see somebody sitting on a street corner and be like, oh, hey, how's it going? And just literally strike up.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues. I don't have any issues with that. I think that I don't want to see. So in Idaho, law enforcement sticks together, fire sticks together, and EMS sticks together. They don't commingle. That's not a thing. They don't hang out. So as far as that, this is Lincoln County. We're small. We're small. I'd love to have a barbecue where we all get together and have a barbecue. Fire, EMS, it doesn't matter. Like we all share a lot of the same stresses. We all share a lot of the same trauma. We all share a lot of the same, negative. Let's not have these issues, but let's all get together because
Right.
we all deal with the same people.
Right. Let's
You know what
not
I mean?
suffer individually.
Yes, let's all
suffer together.
right. Trauma bonding.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
like,
Perfect. Who doesn't love that?
and that's what I'm saying is that we can all work together to make this a better place, plain and simple. And I'm not opposed. I'm 100% just walk in one day and be like, hey, listen, I want to have a meeting. Let's all get together. I'll buy sandwiches. Like
Right.
I'll provide the food.
Right.
What can we do? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that I have learned that if you're gonna have a meeting with somebody, you have to bring food.
Oh yeah,
You have to.
absolutely.
That's the
Yeah,
rules.
or cookies.
Yes.
At least
At
bring
least,
cookies.
yes.
Yeah. I guess an extension of that question would be, how does that situation look for like the rural like fire departments and like is that a different
Come on in.
looking situation?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. How can there's yak ambulance, there's yak fire, there's
Right.
bull leg. Yes,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It does not matter. We can all have a seat at the table.
Right.
I don't care if you're rural.
Yeah.
In fact, you are looking at different issues that I'm looking at, and so
Right.
but I want to be aware of them so that we can all work together. Nobody is too small to not have a seat at my table.
Right.
And that's a big thing for me.
Absolutely.
I'm running, I'm the underdog.
Right.
I'm straight, like, let's call it what it is. I'm the underdog.
Right.
I feel for the people who are trying to make miracles happen with outdated technology.
Right.
And that's where I'm at with the jail. That's where I'm at with these rural fire departments and EMS and departments.
Yeah.
They're trying to make miracles happen, by basically rubbing two rocks together. Like they have old technology.
Yes. Yes.
I want to see what we can all do as a team to
Yes.
fix that teamwork.
Yeah, there's another one. I had a discussion recently with somebody about the rural fire department and that they were part of. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like that sounds so brutal.
Yes.
But they were very passionate about what they do. And they were like, this is why I do it. And,
Yes.
and I was just like, good for you.
I have kind of I was on an ambulance corps. I was a volunteer firefighter. I understand where they're coming from and I understand what the needs are. So, that's what I'm saying. No person is too small to have a seat at my table because
Right.
I want to, we all have to work together. We all have to call this place home.
Right. Right. Which we are all lucky enough to get to do that.
Yes.
So we really
without
are.
a doubt, man.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah. It really is the most. I've been to so many different places, and every time I get back, I'm like,
It's a funny story, true story. The reason I ended up out here and in Sandpoint, Idaho, when I got back from Iraq, I was like, I'm not moving anywhere where it's hot and where it's a desert. And I got halfway. I mean, it gets hot here in the summer, but
it does.
this is it.
Probably not that hot.
No. No.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I guess really my closing questions would be, what would you say to voters if you had a chance that they were undecided and you had a chance to just say one final sentence or paragraph? What would you say?
I am just a regular guy with a passion for integrity in law enforcement.
Perfect. I love it. And also he's a great teacher. He's a great teacher.
Thank you.
Like we've done some classes and sometimes I want to punch myself in the face. I don't know how he doesn't do it. Yeah. And then last question, where can people learn more about you or contact you?
So, perfect. So I have a Facebook. It's Citizens to Elect Ian Smith. I have a website that's voteiansmith.com. And I have something actually super cool that I'm kind of proud of. I have a campaign phone.
Oh.
It's literally, I got a plan for it. If you call this number, if I don't answer, leave a message or shoot me a text, and I give you my word, I will get back to you. It may not be that day. Give me up to 5 days because my schedule is weird. I work 3 days basically straight. I'm not anywhere in the area. I'm off doing, what I got to do.
Right.
But if you leave me a message or you leave me a text message, I will get back to you. And that phone number is 406-407-2258.
Perfect. That's neat.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Messenger, however, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, on Facebook or anything like that. So
Yeah, and he does respond. I can confirm. Sometimes it does take a little while because the man's got to sleep and
Right,
work and
right,
live.
right.
But he does respond.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, on that note, I really appreciate you
Absolutely.
coming
Thank
and
you for
having
having
a
me.
chat with me.
Thank you for having me.
This was so much fun.
Awesome. And I'm glad that I appreciate those questions. And full disclosure, I didn't look at them prior to coming
No,
because that's not
he did not.
not
He
who
did
I
not.
am. I'm
Yeah.
an authentic. I kind of want to take things as they go. I'm very authentic. And that's just it, guys. I'm going to tell you, ask me the hard questions. Ask me those questions. I'm going to give you a response. It may not be the response you want to hear, but I will answer those questions. There's nothing that's kind of off the table.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you very much again,
Absolutely.
and have a good night, everyone.
See you guys.
That was my